Hi guys, welcome back to another cinematic mic review. Today I'm doing Joel Coen's The Tragedy of Macbeth. I just got back from watching it. I had to drive like an hour and a half away from where I live because it's on a limited release right now. The actual release date is today, but it's a limited release and it's not playing everywhere, which was really disappointing when I found out. I thought it was. I'm not sure when I found out. I found out yesterday or 2 days ago or like a week before. But as I was getting ready to watch this film, I saw that it wasn't playing anywhere near me, which really upsetted me. At first, I thought it was going to be playing everywhere, and I'm not. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, do I not remember that it was going to be a limited release or something, or that it was just going to go to streaming services? I couldn't remember, but I was upset. I'm like, damn, man, I don't want to watch this film on TV. I want to go watch it on the big screen. I do not want to watch it on TV. So I had to look it up. I looked up some information and I saw that it says limited release only. And then in January, everyone's going to be able to watch it if they have Apple TV Plus or something like that, a streaming service. So January is when everyone's gonna get to watch it. But right now it's in theaters right now for a limited time. You can go watch it right now. Well, probably not all of you because it's probably not playing near you, which is disappointing because it's a Joel Coen film when Coen brothers I think have done magnificent work and they should still be able to play their movies out everywhere, as many theater rooms as possible. And I don't think it should just be limited right there, just throwing them to the side like that at all. It's something that really bothers me a lot. But I did go see it. I came back from it and I did enjoy it. I'm gonna do my review on it. I'm gonna explain what I liked about it. And let's see. So let's get started on it. So I did the reaction to the tragedy of Macbeth like about a month ago, I believe so. And I brought up how I took a Shakespeare class in community college. I've only read the only Shakespeare story I think I read throughout my life before that was Romeo and Juliet in high school, which is like a known Shakespeare story, like the most common one, Romeo and Juliet. I think that was it. And then when I had to get some credits, I've always saw this one right there, the Shakespeare class that would fill in my credit. It kind of got my attention at times, but then I would be like, no, because I don't know if I wasn't gonna understand it, or I don't know what I was thinking. I'm not sure if it was because of the fear of I might not get it or something, or just I didn't want to, or I thought it might be too hard. So I don't quite remember why, but after I decided, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. I mean, I want to be a writer, I want to be a filmmaker. I'm like Shakespeare's basically like the OG type of thing right there. So I'm like, let's go do it. And I did it, and I read a lot of Shakespeare stories in there, like six of them or seven of them. And I Macbeth was the one that I got to read in there. I read all these other ones, which I really enjoyed because it brings in the drama, brings in like what most Shakespeare's are tragedies, and I think that's a great storytelling. And all this talks about power, ambition, and all that. So I think a lot of conflicts and all that in his stories. Um, and I really liked that class. I actually saw my first play because part of the assignment was actually to go watch the play with the class. We had to go watch King Lear, which was one that I really enjoy is King Lear, the story of King Lear. That one we got to a little bit later, but I really enjoyed King Lear. We read Othello, Antony and Cleopatra, King Lear, Richard III, I believe, and one of the Henry ones, I believe. And so I didn't get to read Macbeth, so I don't even know if I knew about Macbeth. I knew about one called Hamlet because my friend was always talking about Hamlet, and I heard other people talk about Hamlet and how it was an inspiration for certain TV shows and movies. My friend's an English major, so he always brought up Hamlet, but we didn't get to read it, which disappointed me because that was the one that I mostly hear about in Shakespeare, and we didn't get to read it. I'm not sure if it's because that one's probably another one that's probably too popular, and maybe she wanted to focus on the other ones. I don't know, but it sucks because I wish I could have read all of them around the time, but we couldn't because it's a like short time in the semester and all that. And I saw the trailer to this. It was Joel Coen. I was like, oh damn, Joel Coen's coming back, and this time it's a Shakespeare play and it's Macbeth. And man, when I saw the trailer, if you guys saw my reaction, I was impressed by the cinematography, the visuals, the look of it, and all that, and just excited to see Joel Coen come back to do another film. It's sad because you find out that it's not a Coen brothers film. It's actually just Joel Coen because the other Coen, I believe Ethan Coen, doesn't want to work on it or is kind of taking a break from filmmaking and all that. But one of the Coen brothers is just enough for me. And then Denzel Washington as Macbeth, Frances McDormand as Lady Macbeth, and just like I said, the visuals, the cinematography look fire. And then Carter Burwell with his music score, which I enjoy him so much because of the. I know No Country for Old Men. He only did like a certain piece because it's only played like at the beginning and at the end, but it's this really like haunting type of theme, and I really like it. And I think he does the same thing here. The story of the tragedy of Macbeth is about this man who actually wants to become king. At first, he's just a guy that I think has his own castle, his own place. He's still under a certain king that rules all, and he runs into these witches that are like sisters, and they end up. See, this is what I still don't understand, whether he interpreted wrong or whether they were really like playing with him, with this whole idea of him becoming king. So once he hears that he was going to be king, he actually can't wait to be king. And his mind, he ends up going like kind of crazy and starts causing all this like issues. And his wife actually is one that's kind of scary because she's actually supporting him in this, and she says some things that are really kind of scary too if you read the book. And so it's this whole thing about this situation of this man going mad just because he wants to be king and everything that he causes around him. And towards the end, it's basically Shakespeare. It's basically a tragedy of just this man that was corrupted by something that got put in his head and all that. When I saw the trailer to The Tragedy of Macbeth, I knew I didn't read the novel, but watching the trailer, I was like, damn, I want to actually read the novel now. And I asked my friend, I'm like, did you read this one? And he's like, he told me something. He's like, you're gonna ask me that? I'm a English major and this and that and blah blah blah. And I just wanted his opinion on it. I think I'm not sure if he said that was his favorite one or not. But just watching the trailer and all that, and knowing that I had read all the other Shakespeare books and I enjoy them, I'm like, damn, I want to read Macbeth. So right after the trailer that week, when the trailer came out, I think I took off to Barnes and Noble and got myself a copy, and I sat down the whole you could finish the book in like 3-4 hours or so or less. But I gave it time, so I finished it in like 2 days or 3 days. So I would take a break, but I think you can finish it in a day. So I would just suck up whatever I could and then just give it a break and then go back to it. And it was nice just reading the story. And sometimes you don't understand something, so you got to look. That's what I liked about the class too. When I took the Shakespeare class, people sometimes they interpret the words or things that are going on in a different way, different meaning, and that's kind of what I love about it. And so me, sometimes in certain things, some things I could pick up on my own, it was my interpretation, and sometimes it was that. But then there are things that I didn't realize that I would have to look up, and someone would explain about this act, seeing this, act two, seeing this, and all that. So yeah, it was great. Just doing that and reading it, and I actually liked it, and I was kind of shocked in a bit, and I'm like, damn, it's just like another tragedy of Shakespeare in it, And the trailer, it did show amazing cinematography. Who is by, let me see, I have to give a shout out to his name. All right, the cinematographer is Bruno Del Bonal. I'm not quite sure if I've seen any of his other work, but right here, just like I said, when I saw the trailer, that freaking cinematography looked really captivating to me, which is one of the reasons I wanted to go watch the film too, is because I couldn't keep my eyes off the visuals of it. Not only that, the visual and all that, Carter Burwell's actually score to that in the trailer was actually also intriguing, everything. So just putting all these things together, I mean, you got Frances McDormand, you got Denzel Washington, you got Joel Coen directing, you got Carter Burwell score, you got this freaking cinematographer that looks like his work is amazing right here in this film. And I was like, damn, hell yeah, I want to go watch that film, and which I did. So when I saw it, the cinematography is actually really good. It was kind of reminding me a little bit of the things that they played with in Citizen Kane. Not big time, but it reminded me of the classic type of films and the things that I learned from Citizen Kane with the shadow, or like someone being far, like looking tiny in a certain area and all that. And the cinematography was nice. There is something that I really liked about this film. I'm not sure if this counts as cinematography or editing. I think it has to do with editing. But one of the things I loved about that I picked up right away, and it kept going on throughout the whole film, is the way they transition from one scene to another. It's really beautiful how they pick one scene and then it kind of fits in, like I don't know how to explain it right, the right word, but it goes right into it, like fuses into the other scene, so the other shot, and it's nice to see how they do that. There's what was the freaking scene? There is a scene. I remembered a few, now I forgot them. There's like 3 scenes that I wanted to talk about. There's one where I felt like the music was kind of making it seem like it was an ocean and it was an island right there. It was like an overhead shot, and then you realize that it's the witch. She's like bent, like she's covered in black in a cloak and all that, and she's like on the sand. And as you get closer, you realize, oh shit, that's not even the ocean or anything, and that's not an island. That's actually the witch that's there. And I thought that was pretty cool. That's one of them. Then the other one that I could remember, there's another one where it transitions from the sun. The sun ends up transitioning into like a spotlight light, because the scene first it's the sun, and then it turns into like a spotlight on one of the characters who's going to give their speech from the play. Um, which I think is Banquo. I think it's his scene right there. Banquo, like a light just drops on him. But the sun before that was the frame, and then it goes into that circle of the light shining down on him. And I thought it was nice, the transitions in the film. I thought it was really great. Carter Burwell's score is what got my attention too in the trailer, just as much as the cinematography and the people that are in this film and that made the film. And right here, dude, he has like a nice score right here again. It's beautiful. I like him because I know in No Country for Old Men, I'm a fan of No Country for Old Men, and it's what I liked about that film is how they ended up not wanting to use no sound at all throughout like the film, but they do play like a piece of music in the beginning and at the end, I believe. I'm not sure if it's played in the middle. I know it's in the opening and then it's like towards the end, but it's still this kind of haunting theme. And that's something that he does again here, which is really haunting. It's kind of scary and all that. But dude, I love it here. And this one doesn't have, this one is filled with music from the beginning to the end, which is amazing. And because just hearing the music, it's nice, man. You could feel the characters, you could feel like the eeriness of the whole world of this tragedy of Macbeth and everything that's going on around them, all that. And it feels really scary. It brings like this eerie feeling inside and all that. And something that I like too is like the main score. I think it might be the main score. It's the one that's in the trailer. Was like poof, 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 something like that. And then there's some editing where you hear. I think at first it matches with some drops. There's a scene where some water's falling, and it matches with that. And I'm like, damn, was that like in the script? And did Carter Burwell actually look at the script and think about the noise of the water and then made that theme right there? And it wasn't only that one. There's two other ones. There's another one I think where something's being banged. I think it might be that something's being banged on the wall or the window. I think, I'm not 100% sure. It's being banged on the wall and it sounded the same. And then it goes to a third one that I remember is where I don't know who's in the scene, but someone's like trying to take down a tree. And then when I heard that, I thought it was the music of Carter Burwell, but you see the guy hitting the axe on the tree or whatever, and it sounds exactly the same as the theme. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool how they match the editing of the sound of whatever they're doing to the sound of the music of Carter Burwell and all that. So that's amazing right there. I enjoyed the visuals. The look of it was amazing. As I kept looking at it, I'm like, damn, this film's beautiful. The way it's shot, the way it looks and everything, the way it's light up. But as I was paying close attention to it, it kind of reminded me of something that I didn't capture this in the first when I did the reaction. I didn't see this until I went and actually saw the movie. So I don't think you could get this when you watch the trailer. But when you watch the movie and you keep paying attention, some things will probably pop up in your head. And I kept looking at it and I'm like, I wonder how they made that world like that. I'm like, and I look closely and I'm like, that can't be real. I'm like, it looks nice, but it can't be real. I'm like, and then I started thinking about it. I'm like, what? Why does this remind me of something? It reminds me of something similar. And then the first thing that came to my mind was like Sin City, Robert Rodriguez's Sin City. I'm like, that's green screen. I'm like, that's green screen, and they're like not actually there. They're like on a set thing, a stage or something right there. Just the way Robert Rodriguez did Sin City, and I'm like, that's what it reminds me of. Sin City is the way it all. I don't know. It's just the way you can tell this is fake, but it still looks great, man. It still looks like an actual castle. It looks great. It's still able to. I don't just look at it and say, okay, it's totally fake, and I'm not buying it. It just. I think it's beautiful the way they did it, the same way that Robert Rodriguez did the first Sin City. So that kind of reminded me of that. I love that whole gothic look to it too. It brought this gothic vibe to it, to this world of the tragedy of Macbeth. This the angles, the shots of where the cameras put. The production of like these, like everything's kind of twisted in a way, the lines and all that in the film, it's all crazy. there was something about the lines. The lines there were. Someone said something about the lines or the. Oh yeah, they said that. I read that, and this is kind of true because I took a film class and I read somewhere where they said that this was kind of like the German expressionist type of vibe and all that. So I thought, yes, I agree. It reminded me a little bit of Nosferatu. I forgot how to pronounce that one. And the other thing that I noticed, there was a scene where there was a close up. I think either on Lady Macbeth or I'm not sure who, but there was like a close up, and then I started looking at it, and then it also reminded me of a film, a classic film from like 1930s or 1920s, which I saw in film class, which is one I really loved because it showed how acting is can come from the eyes, the face, and expression, and that's it. And it's Joan of Arc, and that's one of my favorite films from like the 1920s, 1930s. It's Joan of Arc, and I got that vibe in this film too. The performances in this film were great. I mean, Denzel Washington, who I think we all know is one of the greatest actors of all time. He's what they call, what do they call it now? The GOAT. He's one of the greatest of all time. And I was kind of curious to see, because at first when it started, I was like, oh nah, don't tell me it's gonna be like just Denzel Washington sounding like himself and all that. But then when he starts doing acting these lines of Shakespeare and all that, you're like, damn, this guy actually knows how to throw it on the screen, the whole Shakespeare lines and all that. I'm like, damn, okay, he's great in it, man. He brings it. He's still, I can't keep my eyes off of him. I couldn't keep my eyes off of Frances McDormand either. They both did an incredible job here as Macbeth and Lady Macbeth in here. They did great. I think they were awesome. I couldn't I always buy a hot dog when I go to the movie theater and eat it right when the movie starts, and it's my thing. I won't eat it. I won't eat it during the trailers. I eat it like right when the movie starts, or a little bit when we're already inside the movie and I start eating it. And I'm like, damn, I don't even want to eat this hot dog because I just want to sit and relax. But I'm like, I knew I had to eat my hot dog, so I ate it. But this movie, the look of it and everything, the performance in it, I didn't want to look away, and I just I didn't want to eat my hot dog. But they did amazing. And then the lady who, I think it's a lady who plays the witch, that shit was scary, man. The way her voice comes out, the way the music comes, and just the sound, the editing of the sound and everything. And her voice freaking scared the hell out of me. I'm like, oh shit, don't tell me this is gonna be like freaking big time scary. Yeah, it's scary in the book because you know it's witches and all that. But right here, the way she sounded reminded me of The Exorcist, which to me is probably one of the all time one film that actually scares me. So it reminded me of the voice of The Exorcist. It was kind of reminding me of The Exorcist. I'm like, damn, this shit's really like devilly and everything. I'm like, frightening. There was a lot of scenes that I remembered from the book right away, like from the like there are words that come out. I'm like, oh, that's this scene. And then in a way, when I started watching it, I was like, I can't quite, because I only read it once, and I'm like, fuck, I forgot how it goes from here to here. And then, but as it started going, I'm like, oh yeah, this is what's happening. Oh yeah. And then I heard the names and I'm like, oh yeah, he's that guy. That's that person. That's that person. Okay. I know what's going to happen to him. I know what's going to happen to him and all that. And then just to see like what I read in the novel and just to see it play out in this movie was just great. And I'm like, oh damn, it's nice. There were some scenes where I probably didn't remember it, or I don't know if it was or wasn't in the book, but most of it seemed like a lot of it that I read was actually in the book. But there are some scenes where I probably just forgot about it, or I probably read it in a different way and imagined it in a different way. But it was all great throughout the whole thing. Towards the end, there was a scene I think where there's the end battle with Macbeth fighting against Macduff, I believe. And I thought when I read the book, there's I don't think this is really a spoiler, but you might want to avoid it if you don't want to hear. But I'm gonna try not to spoil it, I guess. Or I don't think it's really a spoiler. But yeah, he's fighting with Macduff, Macbeth. They get down, and the way I read it in the book was that it was in the forest, and then there's this scene where that scene that I read that I thought was in the forest is actually happening inside the castle. But as they're fighting in the castle, the editing, like, it looks like it's in the castle, but then the background's also showing like a forest. So I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, so is this just the director kind of playing with it, with the editing and all that, you know? Fighting in the castle, but then in the background you can see the forest. So that's kind of where, at least there was a forest there. So I'm like, okay, yeah, there had to be like something with the forest, because I remember they got down like outside. I think I remembered, unless it wasn't explained right, and I just made my own assumption that it was in the forest. But it was cool. I didn't get mad or anything about it. I was just thinking, well, didn't they get down outside? And so yeah, that's what happens. And was there something else? No, that was it. That was the thing that I wanted to talk about. It's just that scene right there with the forest right there. And the editing that was great, mixing it up. So yeah, the music, Carter Burwell, the cinematographer, Bruno De Bono is great. Joel Cohen did this really great. I didn't feel his touches like his other films with that he does with his brother and all that. It would have been cool if his brother would have came along in this too. But I think Joe Cohen did fine right here. Um, Frances McDormand was great. She reminded me a lot about Lady Macbeth in the story. And then Denzel Washington was awesome in it too. And the music score, Carter Burwell score, just haunting. I wish that the OST would be released on the day that the film is released. I don't know when it's gonna be released, in like a week or 2 weeks or a month. Usually I try to dig for them, but then when there's a music score that I really like, it doesn't come out until like later, and I wish it would come out on the release date. But yeah, I think it was a pretty close adaptation to the novel that I read of Shakespeare. I mean, the play. Sorry, the play that I read of Shakespeare. Um, and I heard there's a lot of other ones out there that I don't think I've seen. I know a lot of people mention it. My friend actually mentions it. I think there's one with Michael Fassbender, which a lot of people said were great. I didn't want to watch it since I was excited for this. I'm like, first I'll watch this and then I'll see if I give that one a chance. And I heard that one was great too. And then I think there's one from a director from the other side that my friend talked about too. Or I'm not sure if it was Akira Kurosawa that did it or another director that did a version of the tragedy of Macbeth. So yeah, like I said, the cinematography is great, man. Everything was beautiful on it. I actually am glad that I paid for it. I'm glad that I went all the way over there to go watch it. I am upset that it wasn't playing near me and I had to go over there. The thing that really made me happy is that people were in the theater to watch this, and it's not like something where it's like, oh, people aren't paying attention to this, and they're just paying attention to Spider-Man or something like that. The room was full when we went to go see it. When I went to go see it, it was full. And I was really happy that it was full and that a lot of people were still giving attention to a Joel Coen film. I'm like, hell no, am I gonna watch a Coen film that's playing in the theater, and I'm not gonna wait for it on the small screen. I think the only time that I did that I couldn't watch it was, I think, The Ballad of Buster Scrooge on Netflix, because that was a Netflix one. The Netflix one, yeah, because it comes on Netflix. I don't know, I put it on, but sometimes I shouldn't do that. Like, I wish I would have seen Roma on the big screen instead of watching it on Netflix. I forgot there's certain reasons why I wasn't able to go to the theater at that time. But yeah, everything was great. I do recommend The Tragedy of Macbeth. If you haven't read the play, pick it up, read it. You might like it, you might not. I enjoyed it. I still haven't read some of them. And I really like this adaptation, and I think I will be buying it, and I can't wait for the OST to come out. So that's all I have to say on The Tragedy of Macbeth. If you enjoyed my video, please hit that like button and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching.